St. Lucia's only 100% digital television station, Hot 7 TV.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the hosts, guests, and callers are solely their opinions and responsibility. They do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Hot 7 TV or its affiliates.
A special good evening to all our viewers and listeners. Welcome to Like It Is this week, 2nd of June, into a new month. And of course, as always, we welcome and we are happy to have you joining us on Like It Is. And tonight, as always, we will have, to start off, our first segment, which will be the SLP segment. And then in our second segment, I have a very interesting guest that I will be introducing to you, and you will hear from him. And of course, as always, I will give you your chance to call in to Like It Is, to have your opportunity to tell it like it is. And for those of you who may have questions, suggestions, or want to engage my guests, we'll be happy to have you do so. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going into our first segment, SLP, Secrets, Lies, and Propaganda, the modus operandi of what passes for government in St. Lucia, the St. Lucia Labour Party government.
You hear lie? That is lie. Lie? You hear lie? Teacher Pussy say if you tell a lie, you're going to hell as soon as you die. Why say?
Yes, viewers and listeners, it was the great Albert Einstein who once said that whoever is careless with the truth in small matters cannot be trusted with important matters. And of course, that is so applicable to the men and women in our cabinet who form the government of St. Lucia. They simply cannot be trusted, even in small matters, because of how dishonest and how deceitful they are. Tonight, I will be focusing during our SLP segment on a matter where, there's a lot to do with the approach of secrecy, approach of propaganda, and lies all mixed in. But before I start off our segment, let me take a moment to congratulate the Royal St. Lucia Police Force on the successes they have had in the last few days. Of course, we have heard of a massive drug bust in the north. We understood that drugs to the sum of some $4 million was confiscated. And of course, we understood as well, we heard in a report that on our ports, a seizure was made of some 17 guns and 3,000 rounds of ammunition. That, I must say, is commendable. That is a step in the right direction, and that has far-reaching implications for our peace, safety, and tranquility in this country. I say so because had those 17 guns and 3,000 rounds of ammunition made their way to the street, God alone knows what would have happened as a result of the addition of such firepower on the streets of St. Lucia. Now, before I go any further, let me just say that I found very, very interesting in both reports that it was reported that the use of the K9 unit was instrumental in the success that the police had over the last few days in those two major accomplishments. Now, before we go into this, I want to say that, let me, first of all, refresh your memory about what transpired during the last week as we hear from the police in clip number 1 pertaining to the guns and ammunition that were busted on our ports. Clip number.
First of all, let me commend the officers from the Gang, Narcotic and Firearms Unit, along with the Special Operations Team for their continued efforts at assisting in minimizing criminal activity in St. Lucia, to the mark another successful day in police operations, where the officers were on routine patrol and they conducted operations on the wharf and recovered a total of 17 firearms and over 3,000 rounds of ammunition. I want to say that the detection was assisted through the use of our K9 unit. I want to commend the officers. In recent times, we have taken steps to improve our K9 unit to assist us in the detection of drugs and firearms.
Bravo to the police and, once again, the K9 unit. Ladies and gentlemen, the K9 unit is the unit that the police have with the dogs, what we call police dogs, assisting them in sniffing out drugs, sniffing out ammunition, and sniffing out large sums of cash. You would recall that the previous administration, the United Workers' Party government under Alan Chasney, put a number of measures in place to fight crime and to keep crime under control. Among them was the operationalization of the forensic lab, the border control in terms of reactivating the boats that were inoperational, making the police have the capacity again to patrol our borders. There was work being done on border control, actually having a border control, specific border control unit. There was the K9 unit and a number of other measures that were put in place in the fight against crime. I'm never one who will proclaim that I expect any government to totally eradicate crime. But I will be the first to tell you that our safety and security is one of the primary responsibilities of any government in any country. And as such, we expect that a government will spare no effort and spare no resources in ensuring that they protect the citizens and keep the country safe. When the new government assumed office, and government continues, and while there may be differing policies from government to government, one of the standard fundamental principles I thought that would be adhered to is taking every measure, sparing no effort in ensuring that safety and security is at an optimum. Unfortunately, by the time this present SLP government administration under Philip J. Pierre assumed office, first act of concern to me, at least, was the fact that the Prime Minister, who has the privilege and authority for selecting a cabinet, named a cabinet but did not name anyone with responsibility for national security. That in itself was very disturbing. Apparently, upon being prompted, he remembered that there was an area, a significant area of importance to government, and that national security. So he named himself as Minister of National Security. No sooner had he named himself as Minister of National Security, of course, he never articulated any serious plan or any policy that would be implemented on his part to ensure that the crime-fighting effort would continue or even be improved. Instead, what we heard from him very early in the day was that he was not a policeman. He couldn't answer any questions pertaining to crime in this country because his father was the policeman, not him. Also very disturbing was that we were discovering that the radar instruments for detection of metals and other substances that are used on the ports and the airports and so on, all of a sudden, those at the port went bad because mysteriously some fluid had fallen into them. Another thing that startled me was the unexpected disbanding of the K9 unit. Now, why am I mentioning this? Why I'm making special reference to this is because there are many questions that must be asked as to why those developments. So, I will dismiss the Prime Minister's oversight, so not oversight, but overlooking the fact that there should be a Minister of National Security. I will reduce that to his incompetence, which we all know of now. He has made clear to us that he is incompetent, does not have. And when it comes to plans, it does not have any plans, doesn't have any policies. Again, I will attribute that to the fact that he has no foresight, he has no vision, he has no plans, and he has no policies. But when you tell me that instruments that are important in the detection of contraband and illegal substances are suddenly, mysteriously being destroyed, I have to ask myself questions. When you tell me that a K9 unit, according to the police themselves, that was very successful in detecting illegal substances such as drugs, large sums of cash, and ammunition, was disbanded, you have to wonder why. A government that is serious about crime fighting will bolster the efforts of the police and strengthen the capacity of the institution rather than minimize their effectiveness by taking away from them some of the fighting tools that they have in the containment and control of crime. But we saw it, that's what happened. And your guess is as good as mine why that was the case. My assumption, I will say boldly and clearly, is that in the absence of any other explanation which I have not heard, it is that the radar detectors and those kinds of gadgets do not recognize face. They do not identify names. They detect illegal substances. Dogs sniff out marijuana, cocaine, other illegal drugs. They sniff out ammunition, they sniff out guns, and they sniff out large sums of money. They will not read and recognize that on that box or that barrel is the name Mr. John Doe. They will not go as far as that. All they will do is identify whatever package that contains the illegal substance. Human beings being involved in the process, left to the human being, they can be forewarned, given the heads up that Mr. So-and-so's package is coming, so make it go through, and of course, that package will get special treatment. The dogs do not understand that language. That is my guess why they were not desirable in the effort, the so-called effort in crime fighting. You notice immediately that they return the K9 unit, we are hearing of successes. Ladies and gentlemen, the only disappointment I have, and may I inform you, and that has nothing to do with the dogs, nothing to do with the K9 unit, that is beyond their control, out of the realm of their capacity. That is effecting arrests when those major busts are made. I don't know about you. I listen carefully to the reports. I know, yes, I punch the air when I hear great big drug busts, big ammunition busts, and gun busts. That will clear off our streets those dangerous drugs that not only destroy the lives of our young people, but is a source to create strife, violence, and crime on our streets. And when I hear that the guns that has been so prominently featuring in the violent murders that are taking place in St. Lucia, when I heard 17 more was on its way to the streets and that it was intercepted and confiscated, I punch the air and I say, yes, great. But it's a little disappointing that with all of those successes, I've never heard that any arrest was made. Why? That's a question I ask, I will continue to ask. But ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister indicating that he is not a police and his role is not to get involved in police operations, quite rightly, that his role is to give policy direction and leadership and to provide for the police the resources that they require. Quite rightly so. Unfortunately, we have not heard of any of the policies that he's talking about, the leadership and the guidance that he's talking about. We have not heard of it. But, so, perhaps he leaves the operational matters to the police, so it is the police who advise him to disband the K9 unit. But like you, I doubt it. So let us hear what one of the police commissioners that he appointed had to say on the issue, well, what he had to say about the advice of one of the police commissioners that he appointed with regard to the K9 unit. Please play clip number 2.
Commissioner has made a plea for the establishment of the K9 unit. We had some operations, the police had some operations late last year that involved using the K9 unit. We are actively involved in these discussions, but as I said, I mean, this is not as simple. You need trainers, you need this. It's not as, I mean, it may sound like very simple K9 unit, but it has very many things. Surprisingly, many things you have to go through to get a K9 unit going. But we are working on it, and we'll make an announcement as to when and if we're going to have a K9 unit in St. Lucia. But we continue to seek use of dogs from our friendly neighbors. The French, the Americans assist us when in the search for the use of dogs, but we are considering actively a K9 unit.
You said you have to train officers. Wasn't there one K9 unit before?
Yes, there was, but you know, as most things, you know, and you know, I always tell you, I'm not in a position to opine on police operations, and I insist in that position. I can't opine on police operations. I'm not a police officer. My father was, not one. So in terms of the training that is necessary, I have to go strictly on the advice of the police professionals, commissioner and the staff. What I know is the commissioner has asked for a K9 unit. We're going to have these discussions, and I will tell her the resources that are available if they become available, and for the details on training and the logistics, that'll be up to her. That's her job. She's the commissioner of police. She's the professional who has the responsibility for ensuring that law enforcement happens.
The commissioner made a plea for a K9 unit. Obviously, it doesn't sound like it was that commissioner's recommendation that the unit would be disbanded. The commissioner made a plea for the K9 unit. So who is it who advised you, who have nothing to do with the operations of the police, who advised you to disband the K9 unit? Under whose advice did you make that move? And why did you make that move? Was that advice coming from the Prime Minister's office, from the de facto Prime Minister that you handpicked and appointed in there, who perhaps had his ulterior motives why he did not want the K9 unit operational at our ports? These are questions that I must ask, given all what I know. Why did you disband the K9 unit? And you see that tendency. Whenever you ask very serious questions, when you're about to lie, you come with that laugh, that famous laugh. You know, you're not fooling us anymore. Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, you're not fooling us anymore. We can see right through your deceit. And if it is one thing you say, and I think St. Lucians are taking you wrong, but I fully understand you, you are transparent. But they're taking it in the wrong sense. When you say you are transparent, they take it to mean that you're open and honest. But I know what you mean is that you realize that we can see right through you. That's the transparency that applies to you. And so, you, sir, as Minister of National Security, disbanded the K9 units. And the police commissioner that you appointed, she asked you, you didn't say she asked, she pleaded with you to reinstate the K9 unit. So perhaps, before I jump to conclusions any further, perhaps it was the previous Commissioner of Police, Mr. Milton Moses, who advised you to do so. You know what? Before I speculate, let's hear from former Commissioner Milton Daisy on his position as far as the K9 unit is concerned. Clip number 3, please.
To the station.
Police Commissioner Milton Daisy informed that the pre-existing K9 unit was instrumental in conducting 47 operations with a 63% success rate that included the confiscation of firearms, drugs, and cash. Over $40,000 was recovered in just one operation, and 9 firearms along with a substantial amount of drugs in another.
At that time, the K9 unit, putting out the cost of it, the K9 unit, I think it is one of the, I would say, the tools needed, especially now with everything that's going on, to have in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Actually, the K9s we had were able to detect large sums of cash, drugs, and firearms.
Commissioner Daisy explained that the Royal St. Lucia Police Force is awaiting the renewal of the contract to reinstall the K9 unit, something which is not under his purview.
Yes, you just heard from Commissioner Milton, the former Commissioner Milton Daisy. Didn't sound to me like a man who was happy to have the K9 unit disbanded. As a matter of fact, he was singing the praise of the K9 unit and telling us how successful police operations were through the use of the K9 unit. And if I can quote correctly, he said in 47 operations, they had a 63% success rate with the K9 unit. I always tell you my mouth's not too strong, but that suggests to me that about 30 out of the 47 operations, about 30 of them were successful with the use of the K9 units. And what further was said? That with those K9 units, they were able to detect firearm, they were able to detect illegal drugs, and they were able to detect large sums of cash. So, those K9s were playing a vital role in controlling money laundering, drug trafficking, and of course, the shipment and transshipment and infiltration of guns and ammunition, whether it's to our shores or through our shores. The dogs were intercepting them and police were able to confiscate them, averting the possibility of those dangerous weapons and substances from ending up in our communities, on our streets, resulting in the death, in the most severe cases, in the death of especially our young people in this country. What do you think fuels the gang wars in this country? What do you think they're fighting over? Mangoes? You think it's guavas they're fighting for? They're fighting over turf. What turf? You think it's Crown lands I'm talking about? They're fighting over drug territory. That is what they're fighting for. And in some cases, when there is an affront to any of them, they cannot go to the police, obviously, to report that so-and-so stole my drugs or didn't give me my money for my drugs and so on. They have their own form of justice, and they exact justice in their own way, which usually results in violent crime, in the murder of each other. So I say to you, can you imagine how many more young St. Lucians died in St. Lucia as a result of the disbanding of the K9 units? And I say so because look at what just happened. I am telling you, it is my view that if those 17 guns and high-powered weapons that I saw on the table displayed in the news report, with 3,000 rounds of ammunition, had that found itself on the streets in our communities, God knows how many more lives as a direct result of that shipment would have taken place in our country. Have you asked yourself that? So you think because you didn't go to Castries today and kill someone on the boulevard, we're going to praise you, call you, and tell you congratulations on everything? No, that's not going to happen. So we're not going to praise the K9 unit because we don't make the association, the direct association, the fact that there were less murders because of their presence and the detection that they facilitated. We don't praise them for that. But you cannot argue with me that given all the guns that must have gone through while the K9 unit was disbanded, that that contributed to the upsurge in violent crime in St. Lucia, that contributed to the upsurge of drug trafficking, that contributed to the upsurge of gun violence, and that definitely, in my mind, contributed to the number of murders we had in this country. If you had a government who cared, if you had a government who was concerned about you and putting your interests, they had your interests at heart, that would be foremost on their mind to do everything possible to mitigate against the possibility of us increasing the number of murders that we have in this country as a result of what I consider to be almost criminal, if not considered to be criminal, on the part of the authorities to take a decision. And of course, I say the authorities, I have to remove the police commissioners, because you heard clearly the Prime Minister himself admitted that Commissioner Peleus pleaded with him for the K9 unit. You heard Milton Moses lamenting the disbanding of the K9 unit and hoping that the contract would be renewed for them to continue using the K9 unit. So obviously, it must have been the decision of the government of St. Lucia to disband the K9 unit. And you know what they claim was the justification for that? You would remember they said it would cost about $40,000 a month to maintain those dogs. My question is, forget the fact that former Commissioner Milton Daisy said that in just one operation, they were able to retrieve over $40,000. Forget the fact that in one operation, they can confiscate millions of dollars worth of drugs and 17 high-powered weapons with 3,000 rounds of ammunition in one operation. That translates, if you do not make the connection, to thousands of dollars if, after the dogs have done their job, the human element comes into play where arrests are made, these people, the perpetrators are taken to justice, and they get justice exacted where they are charged and made to pay the amount that they deserve to pay, that would far more than adequately compensate for the expense that would be incurred from the dogs. But that is not even the most important thing to me. I want to ask a simple question. Are you saying the many lives that those dogs would have saved by their intervention in detecting drugs, in detecting the money that could create more crime on the ground, the guns and ammunition that are responsible for so many killings in our communities? Are you saying to me that those lives lost, the people maimed, the people injured, putting pressure on our health system, are you saying to me, $40,000 is too much to spend to save, even if it is one of those lives? Is that what you're saying to me? Well, I say to you, only a callous, non-caring government would answer yes to that question. And so I say, I want to commend the United Workers' Party once again, because in addition to the commissioners who pleaded, hoped, and waited for the reinstatement of the K9 unit, I know, because I was a part of it, that the United Workers' Party, spearheaded by Alan Chasney, repeatedly called for the reinstatement of the K9 unit. And it's a no-brainer. I know you're not a police, Philip J. Pierre. You don't have to be a police to know that you would have had crime under better control if you had not disbanded the K9 units. Because the minute you did that, I am telling you, that is partly responsible for the increase in crime, especially the record murder rate that we experience in this country. My advice to you, now you don't like to take advice from the opposition, but whether you want to admit it or not, it is clear that the policies, the suggestions, and the advice, the recommendations made by the opposition are effective. And if it worked for us, it will work for you. We're not necessarily giving you the advice for it to work for you, but we're concerned about our country and the rest of the people in our country. So employ it and let it work. Keep the K9 unit in operation so that we can continue to have those busts where we're going to confiscate weapons that would have made their way to the street and ammunition, and drugs that would have filtered through to our community, again, fueling and giving rise to criminal activity. Do it. Not for the opposition, because you seem to think anything that is suggested by Alan Chasney, you should go against it. Don't do it for Alan Chasney. Do it for the young people, especially of St. Lucia. Because you have already perpetrated actions that are akin to criminal action by, without reason, without justification, disbanding the K9 unit. You see, now that you are forced, because you have no answers, no clue, like your hand-picked colleague, Richard Frederick, talked about eating his vomit. And in your case, you have to dig the dustbin, because that's where you throw it. Whenever we give you advice, that's where you throw it. You have to go back to the dustbin. Don't give yourself so much trouble to have to go and dig the dustbin. Just take the advice. Be humble enough, considering that you have conceded that you have no clue, you have no ideas, and you're at the mercy of the public to give you suggestions as to what to do. We told you to reinstate the K9 unit, and you see for yourself, having done it, the success it has brought. We don't give you bad advice because we love our country. Continue to take advice from us. Okay? Yes, we're going to say we are the ones who told you so because we're looking to score political points. But between us, that should not be the most important issue here. It's the end result that is important. The decrease in the occurrence of crime, the lives that are saved, the peace that will be experienced on our streets, in our communities, and the safety that our people will enjoy, making for a better quality of life in St. Lucia. And I will not go into the long list of positive repercussions, like facilitating our economy that is based on tourism, that when the French put an advisory and you as Prime Minister don't even know. I'm not going into all of that. Let's just say it will make for a better quality of life for our people. I think that itself is enough. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's not be fooled by our Prime Minister, like he always tries to do, pull wool over our eyes. The secret is not exactly a secret, Prime Minister. You were never advised by anybody in the police hierarchy any professional in crime fighting to disband the police K9 unit. You did that because you do not care. You did that because of your spite and vindictiveness and your negative attitude towards Alan Chasney. And of course, Alan Chasney was promoting the engagement of a K9 unit, so you would not do it. You're not doing it for Alan Chasney. You're doing it for the country. You're the leader of the country. Put aside your hatred for Alan Chasney. For that matter, take his advice and do a better job as leader of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, that tonight was Secrets, Lies, and Propaganda as being perpetrated continuously, perpetually by the St. Lucia Labour Party. I thank you and ask you to stay tuned for our next segment.
You hear lie? That is lie. Lie? You hear lie? Teacher Pussy say if you tell a lie, you go into hell as soon as you die. Why, sir?
Now you can take Hot FM, Kiss FM, and Hot 7 TV with you wherever you go. Whether you're in St. Lucia or exploring our four corners of the globe. Our record-breaking app has already been downloaded over 500,000 times on Google Play and the Apple App Store. To bring you the best in HD sound, we've relaunched a brand new app. Get it for free in the App Store by simply searching Caribbean Hot FM HD. Listen to us in real time, anywhere, any place, anytime. We've added so many cool new features, like our live in-studio option, where you can see your favorite announcers and DJs at work. So download the app today. It's free. Spread the news. St. Lucia is now in HD around the world on the Hot FM app. Don't miss out. Join the fun and stay connected.
Looking for the best way to advertise? Stop searching. Hot 7 TV gives you more reach, more impact, and more value. Get your business in front of the right audience and watch your sales soar. Don't miss out. Call 452-6040 today and take advantage of our exclusive advertising packages. Hot 7 TV, smart advertising for smart businesses.
Did you know that while you're busy with your day, important news is breaking all around you? From politics to weather updates, community stories, and breaking news. Hot 7 TV keeps you informed with news every hour on the hour. Don't wait to hear it secondhand. Stay ahead. Stay informed with Hot 7 TV St. Lucia. News notes on the hour. Stay updated wherever you are. Catch Hot 7 TV St. Lucia's news every hour on the air, on our mobile app, and on our website.
The feet have gone nowhere, but the ball has found the woodwork.
Absolutely huge from the Briton. It's been coming for a long time. If she's broke that magical 7-meter line.
For it. It's beaten the man, square leg. That will do it. 8 scores of 200 or more for Brian Lara.
Usain Bolt storming through, he takes it again, Blake gets the silver.
Play of the day for the Heat. Derek Jones.
Unforgettable moments in sports. Sports classics during the Hot 7 Nightly News.
Did you know that while you're busy with your day, important news is breaking all around you? From politics to weather updates, community stories, and breaking news. Hot 7 TV keeps you informed with news every hour on the hour. Don't wait to hear it secondhand. Stay ahead. Stay informed with Hot 7 TV St. Lucia. News notes on the hour. Stay updated wherever you are. Catch Hot 7 TV St. Lucia's news every hour on the air, on our mobile app, and on our website.
The feet have gone nowhere, but the ball has found the woodwork.
Absolutely huge from the Briton. It's been coming for a long time. If she's broke that magical 7-metre line.
Goes for it. It's beaten the man, square leg. That will do it. 8 scores of 200 or more for Brian Lara.
Usain Bolt storming through, he takes it again, Blake gets the silver.
Play of the day for the Heat. Unbelievable.
Unforgettable moments in sports. Sports classics during the Hot 7 night.
You know that while you're busy with your day, important news is breaking all around you, from politics to weather updates, community stories, and breaking news. Hot 7 TV keeps you informed with news every hour on the hour. Don't wait to hear it secondhand. Stay ahead, stay informed with Hot 7 TV St. Lucia. News notes on the hour. Stay updated wherever you are. Catch Hot 7 TV St. Lucia's news every hour on the air, on our mobile app, and on our website.
The views of the host of this program is independent of Hot 7 TV, Kiss FM, and Hot FM Communications Limited.
Welcome to all my viewers and listeners, and thank you for staying tuned to Like It Is. And you can see now on my screen the guest that I spoke of, but just wait a moment, we will be introducing him shortly. But before I do, let me just take a moment to express my sincere condolences from Like It Is to the family and friends of Nicole David, who I understand passed away. Nicole was in her own rights a cultural icon here in St. Lucia. We know of her immense talent as a vocalist, and of course she dabbled not just in the contemporary genres, but also she was a calypsonian of note, and of course she will be sadly missed, and it's unfortunate that she departed so soon. Once again, our condolences to her family and her friends, and we hope that they find the strength to deal with that crisis, and we ask that her soul rest in peace. Ladies and gentlemen, again, before I move to my guests, let me just mention, you would have seen in the news, in addition to what we dealt with on SLP, that there was industrial action taking place all around the island, almost sounding like we are a country in chaos. When you have poor leadership, that's what happens. You have a breakdown in almost any and everything. If a government cannot even manage, the trade of a simple thing like sugar into the country, then I think you're asking for a little too much to ask them to run the affairs of the country properly. And so we heard of customs, where there was an upheaval. We don't hear it, but we know that in the Ministry of Health there are problems. We saw the truckers who had issues with the port taking industrial action. And of course, we heard of the workers at Isla Resorts in Rodney Bay and what is happening there. Now, when it comes to the truckers and what's happening on the port, don't think it has nothing to do with you. What is happening there has slowed down the processing of your goods that are imported, whether it is containers, boxes, barrels, goods have slowed down. And we have also heard where some merchants are panicking because you know, with the refrigerated containers not being connected, not being there to keep things like the chicken and things like that that are imported cool, there is a problem. And what I understand is that what is being done is that SLASPA, or on the pots, they are plugging in something for 12 hours, then rotating, and so on. That in itself, you have to be very careful about, because that can be dangerous if you have a situation where frozen stuff is in defrosted and, you know, be refrozen again and so on. That can become a health hazard. So it has something to do with you in many respects. If you're a merchant, it will affect you. If you're just someone importing your goods, there are delays, inordinate delays that are taking place. And of course, that affects business across the board, not to mention it can have possible health implications for us. When it comes to what is happening at Isla Resorts in Rodney Bay, again, you and I do not work there, so you may want to say it has nothing to do with you. But it is an indication of where we stand, how we stand as a country with our government. You would recall that one of the mantras of the St. Lucia Labour Party government is that they are putting people first. And of course, that sounds so sweet. That's so enticing in itself, if they're putting people first. The mistake many of you made was to assume that you were the people that they were talking about. That is the mistake you made. After 4 years, many of you are discovering who exactly it is they were talking about putting first. It is no secret now to the entire nation of St. Lucia, the entire citizenry, that the St. Lucia Labour Party government puts foreigners first. When it comes to big contracts like the construction of our halls of justice, that contract goes to a Trinidadian. When it comes to the running of our ports that SLASPA has been doing for decades upon decades, SLASPA being a viable, financially viable, one of the few financially viable institutions of government that could have gone and taken their loan and procured the services of contractors to build the ports, whatever it is that GPH is offering to do. No. They instead went into a deal with GPH, a lopsided deal, a one-sided deal that was totally against the interests of this country and its people, giving away our ports for about 40 years to a foreign company for next to nothing. And now we have a situation where, though GPH has not spent any significant amount of money on, or to do anything on the port, they are already benefiting from the sweetheart deal that they got from your government. They are earning $12.50 on every cruise passenger that comes into St. Lucia. And from that, all the government of St. Lucia is getting is $1, and solid waste is getting $1.50. So, the $10 that could have come to SLASPA is going to GPH. These are the people they put first. And up to now, you don't even deserve to know the full details of that arrangement. And you know why they cannot divulge it? Because it's so one-sided. It's so much in favor of the foreigners that they know that there will be an uproar in this country if they were to tell us exactly what they have done. They are embarrassed. They are ashamed to admit that disastrous deal that they have entered into with those foreigners. The Galaxy, another case, where our money for our passports are going, instead of to our consolidated fund, it's going to the account of Galaxy. Money to the tunes of billions of dollars. Again, these are the people that they put first. And of course, Ernest Hilaire, in no uncertain terms, spelled it out to you. Because sometimes you don't hear. Sometimes you don't see. Sometimes you don't wake up and smell the coffee. Well, if you can hear, you can smell, you can see. What Ernest Hilaire did, he sang it. He drew it. Okay? He spelt it. He left you with no doubt who comes first to the St. Lucia Labour Party government. So when our construction workers, according to them, were unfairly treated by their employers, the investors building Isla Resorts, decided that they were not happy with paying them the $180 that was agreed to, that is for the tradesmen, that they would reduce their payment to $100. And the workers, quite rightly so, especially when it happened without any consultation according to them, took protest action and were up in arms. Of course, they turned to their representatives, the government of St. Lucia. You heard what Ilona said? You see what side he took? The side of the investor. In your face, St. Lucians. That is who comes first to them. I hope that was a lesson well learned. You cannot continue to have a situation like that. You cannot continue to have a government bluff you, disrespect you, and belittle you in that manner. So, while UNASILA stands with the investors, because that's the policy of the St. Lucia Labour Party government, you are left undone. You are left without representation. Nobody to stand for you. Do not lose hope. There is a party called the United Workers' Party under the leadership of Alan Michael Chasney, with a cadre of men and women who are competent and capable, and I will present one of them to you tonight, who will certainly do right by you by providing proper representation to you and genuinely put the country first and put you before they represent the interests of foreigners. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not delay any longer because we want to have as much time as possible with our special guest who is here with me tonight. And I want to also give you an opportunity to interact with him so that we can get to know the individual whom I have here tonight. So let me tell you, you can see on your screen sitting beside me, for those of you who are viewing on Facebook, on live stream, or on television, and you will hear shortly those of you who are listening on radio. I have here with me the United Workers' Party endorsed candidate for Micoud North, who will be contesting the next general election on behalf of the United Workers' Party, seeking to regain the Micoud North seat for the UWP. The name of that gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, is Elisha Norbert. Not Elijah, Elisha Norbert. And I want you to meet Elisha Norbert. Elisha, yes, special good evening and welcome to Like It Is.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let me just tell my viewers and listeners what I have found out about you so far before I engage you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Elisha Norbert. Elisha Norbert is a teacher, a leader, and a voice for change. With over 21 years of service to students in St. Lucia, he has become a household name in the area of mathematics and science education. Elijah holds a bachelor's degree in education with first-class honors, wow, a master's degree with distinction, and a diploma in university teaching. Mr. Norbert certainly exemplifies academic excellence and unwavering commitment to the teaching profession. And I will go as far as to say, is more than that. It appears to me that Elisha Norbert in himself is an institution. Elisha is renowned for his innovation. He has authored a solution booklet for past CXE exams, created a workbook on directed numbers, designed custom graph sheets, and even a dry erase graph board to enhance classroom learning. His research and training efforts have tackled critical issues like math anxiety. I would have done well in my days, Elisha, with your services. Algebra mastery, and supporting gifted students in regular classrooms. That won't be for me. I was never gifted in mathematics. That's right. You know. Beyond academics, Elisha has made his mark on the transportation system for schools with his forward-thinking proposal, Bring Back Better Bus Drivers. And he played a central role in school sports, both at the community and national levels. He is He has also shared his expertise in international curriculum seminars and led professional development sessions for teachers island-wide. Elisha Norbert is more than his credentials, ladies and gentlemen. He is a man of principle, a champion for students and educators, and a citizen who believes in justice. He believes in justice, unity, and of course, if you have been following him thus far, you will know too that he has a strong belief in our national motto, the land, the people, the light. Elisha, the little I've found out about him so far, ladies and gentlemen, is a gentleman who is unafraid to speak truth to power. He challenges the system for sure, not to tear it down, but to assist in building it better. Elisha Norbert now stands endorsed by the United Workers' Party and the Constituency branch of Micoud North to represent the people of Micoud North. His voice is grounded in experience, guided by compassion, and lifted by the hope that St. Lucia can and must be better. Yeah. Elisha, welcome again to Like It Is. And let me read the ground rules to you, Elisha. On Like It Is, we don't sugarcoat, we don't water down, we tell it like it is. Thanks for accepting my invitation. And although I suspect I should not have even read the rules to you, because what I know of you so far, I don't expect anything different from you. Like I said, you are someone who speaks truth to power, and I who has no power, you know, I don't expect you to do any differently.
You pass the baton.
That's correct. So, let's get straight into business.
Yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I met Elijah on Meet the Opposition, which is another talk show that I hosted. And I noticed, Elijah, that whenever you were asked to talk about yourself, I'll tell you boldface, I'll put it plain blank. To me, you were dodging my questions. And you actually said very little about yourself. Yeah. Instead, you danced around the question and quickly went on into talking about your plans and your ideas for Micoud and so on. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that that is bad, but we want to know a little more. We want to dig a little deeper into Elisha Norbert. Now, I remember your political leader making the statement to me one time, you know, Elisha is all about Micoud North. So just leave Elisha alone and let the man focus on, you know, his constituency, the people that he wants to represent. We're leaving you alone, but we want to know who you are still. And unlike it is, we're going to dig into it, because tonight there is no political leader to save you. And I want you to know, like another talk show would say, this is my show. And I want you to tell us like it is about Elisha Norbert. So I'll be asking you questions, and tonight you have no choice, Elisha. You have to respond. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right.
As long as you don't ask me to define 2 divided by 0.
I wouldn't even know if you're right or wrong, so I wouldn't ask you that. I wouldn't ask you that.
Anything appropriate.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you have a sense of humor, and you know, you say things like you see it and so on. I know you're not being disrespectful. Sometimes people can misread you and so on.
Question for questions. Huh?
Questions for questions. You're going to ask me questions as well?
Of course.
Oh boy. You cannot have me nervous on my own show, you know. You know. But anyway, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
What am I going to ask you first of all? You are in the education business, you are a community worker, and so on. Yeah. But before all of that, Elisha, I mean, I'm a man who do my groundwork, I do my research, my background information, and so on. I heard a soupçon that you wanted to be a priest. Tell us a little about that.
Oh, that's way back. I take everything I do seriously, Spider. Mm-hmm. Everything. So experiences shape my life. Mm-hmm. I must have been about 8 years old. I was in First Communion class, and I was reading the prayers, the Eucharistic prayers, learning about the Mass, learning about the priesthood. And I realized how important priests are to my faith. And at that time, I felt, well, I should become a priest because we need priests, there's a shortage of priests, and that will solve a problem, so why not give myself in service to the church? At the same time, I was in Cub Scouts too, and I also wanted to become a soldier, and I remember wondering whether you could be a priest and a soldier at the same time, because I like the uniform, I like the discipline.
Although it sounds like a bit like a conflict, because a priest is supposed to save lives, and a soldier actually takes lives.
No, sir, a soldier is saving lives. A soldier is also saving lives. And I think for me, it has been about service to others. When my mother used to sell cakes and have us sell little comforts and cocoa coolie, I liked counting and helping her to ensure that she has given the correct change. At that time, I probably wanted to become an accountant. So whatever I was involved in, once we were painting our house, Spider, and I wanted to become a painter. Because I enjoyed the experience of painting. Which is why...
Hold on a moment. I think the technical people are trying to say something to me there.
Yes.
Could you go ahead, please? Huh? I'm actually not picking it up. My headphone is a little low, so I'm not actually hearing what you're saying. We just want to get everything right, Elisha. Just bear with us. Okay. All right. Could you just finish making your point? Because there is an issue with your mic. We're not hearing you clearly, and I suspect that will affect the listeners as well. So we'll take a you know what? I think we'll stop here now. I don't want them to miss anything that you say.
Yeah.
And we will take a quick break. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break to make a little technical adjustment. We'll be back very, very soon. Please stay tuned. We'll be back.
Now you can take Hot FM, Kiss FM, and Hot 7 TV with you wherever you go. Whether you're in St. Lucia or exploring our four corners of the globe. Our record-breaking app has already been downloaded over 500,000 times on Google Play and the Apple App. To bring you the best in HD sound, we've relaunched a brand new app. Get it for free in the App Store by simply searching Caribbean Hot FM HD. Listen to us in real time, anywhere, any place, anytime. We've added so many cool new features, like our live in-studio option, where you can see your favorite announcers and DJs at work. So download the app today. It's free. Spread the news. St. Lucia is now in HD around the world on the Hot FM app. Don't miss out. Join the fun and stay connected.
Looking for the best way to advertise? Stop searching. Hot 7 TV gives you more reach, more impact, and more value. Get your business in front of the right audience and watch your sales soar. Don't miss out. Call 452-6040 today and take advantage of our exclusive advertising packages. Hot 7 TV, smart advertising for smart businesses.
Thank you very much for staying tuned and rejoining us. Ladies and gentlemen, we do apologize for this break, but it was necessary. Actually, during the break, I was reading some of the comments being made by those of you following, and it did indicate to us that you are having difficulty here in Elisha. It means that you missed some of what we have discussed so far. Now, I do not know if I'll go all the way back, but I am going to start from an interesting question that I asked Elijah. I was saying to Elijah that I did my research on him before coming to the program. And one of the things that was not mentioned in his bio is that he wanted to be a priest when he was young. And I want you, Elijah, to tell our listeners all about this.
All right, so as I said a while ago, when I was 8 years old, I was in First Communion class. And we were learning about the importance of the priesthood to our faith, and that there was a shortage in priests. And, our catechists would encourage us to become priests, give our lives to God in service to others. And
I did ponder on that for quite some time in my life, that, you know, I should just give myself in service to others because there is a need. It's part of what shapes what I wanted to become throughout my entire life, experiences. So when we were painting our home, I remember helping my father paint the house, Spider, and I also wanted to be a painter. I remember being a Cub Scout and a Scout, and then I wanted to be a soldier. I remember helping my mother count change, and I wanted to be an accountant. So depending on what it was that I was studying or going through, that shaped my aspirations, which is why I would love for all children in Micoud North to be exposed to as many experiences as possible so they could start dreaming. They could have plans for their life. Now, before I go into Micoud North and you stop me on your show, I'll stop here.
But, you know, you talked about counting change for your mother who was selling stuff and so on. But I heard you too was somewhat of an entrepreneur, that in your early years you used to sell, used to make comfort to sell. And so why didn't you, like as you said, go into accounting or go into entrepreneurship?
Seems like you went to La Pointe and asked questions. My grand aunt, my mother's aunt, we used to call her Moda or Dilish. She used to make comfort. And I remember every Thursday evening, after I came from school, I would go over to her house and I would help in the making of the comfort. So melt the sugar, put in the lime, and she had this huge slate that would pour the molten sugar on it and then heat it and add the mint, the essence to it. But she would be the one selling. So I just always wanted to lend a helping hand. I was never really in the selling of the comfort. I remember also helping my aunt, Miss Martha, with patching peanuts. So we used to grow peanuts down in the point in La Pointe, and we'd take it out, put it in some sand on a coal pot pan, and get it to roast in the sand, then put it in bags, you know, just helping out. I used to make cocoa yeye, that's a type of cake. We'll spare the audience how the cake got its name, but it was a very sweet cake, right? And I think yeye is one of my great-grandparents or something like that. So we used to sell cakes, and entrepreneurship has been in the family. My father was a banana farmer, so he used to sell his bananas, sell furniture. So the entrepreneurship, along with all the faith-based aspirations and the other trade-based aspirations, are in my blood.
So, I mean, when I listen to your opponent, Jeremiah Norbert, by the way, what is Jeremiah to you? Are you all related?
Yes, Jeremiah is my cousin.
Okay.
Jeremiah's mother and my father are first cousins.
I see.
So
well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the first time we're going to have a situation like this in St. Lucian politics, where relatives are in effect contesting against each other. We had not too long ago a situation like this in Castries Southeast, where we had the Rambalis doing battle against each other.
But I don't like the use of the word against each other.
Well,
we're pinning our ideas against each other.
Okay, fine.
So it's the ideas, the priorities, the vision for the community.
Okay.
That's what's against each other, not the person.
I take that.
Yeah, politics should not be personal conflict.
But if I'm to listen to your opponent, Jeremiah, I would believe that you were born with a golden spoon. And are you, in fact, an individual who was born with a golden spoon?
It is sad that someone who knows so much about our upbringing would even hint at that. Our families were basically similar in structure. My mother was a housewife. My father, banana farmer. Left school. My father left school in his teens. Never graduated from not even primary school, I believe. So he struggled. We lived, I remember us living in a one-bedroom house, then a two-bedroom house, one bed, all children sleeping on the same bed. The struggle was real, Spider, as children, but we...
Okay, so like, just like, in other words, just like most of us, is a wooden spoon, you know.
Yeah, and we appreciated the spoon that we had.
Right.
So having to wait for children at the end of the year to give me the school shirts so I can wear to go to school was like a normal part of growing up. I appreciated the spoon that I had. Being given a bag of Coca-Cola, that's Downs, to go to school. I'm going to St. Mary's College. And when I get there, before 8 o'clock, maybe just after 8, I take my bag of Coca-Cola and I walk around and I sell my Coca-Cola slider. And that's, I get money for lunch, I take some money back home to my mother. That's the golden spoon, I guess, because I have a tree of Coca-Cola and I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for the things that we did to take us through. And now I survived, I'm a teacher, I want better for the children of Micoud North. I remember in my very first year as chairman of council, I sought to open up a trade center where people could bring in fairly used clothing, and persons don't even have to feel ashamed to go ask their neighbors, hey, can I use your school shirts? If they're too small, are you replacing them? Everybody would, and that's still happening now. Everybody bring their stuff to one place, and we go there and take. Everybody can take and trade, and it's working out fine. Okay. So these experiences from way back then, I cherish them. I cherish the wooden spoon that I have.
And that is commendable, some of the things that you have already mentioned. We're going to go deeper into that. But, you know, sometimes while we're discussing serious business here, we don't want to make it too tense or too intense, rather.
Yeah.
I discovered a fun fact about Elisha, and I just want to bring it up, because I tried to make some sense out of it, but I wasn't sure. Elisha, I found out that you like Disney soundtracks. Well, tell us something about that. What's up with that?
Disney, a lot of animation films, they tell a story of individuals, characters who are different, who are gifted, who think outside the box. Aladdin, even Jasmine, Mulan, Pocahontas, Mufasa. And I get a lot of inspiration from these stories, just like I do from the Bible stories. I like the Bible stories of the prophets as well. Those who come from humble beginnings and God used them to change an entire nation, even if they thought that they were not worthy.
Right.
So Disney movies tell great stories, a lot of inspiration for our gifted people in St. Lucia. And I know that there are many people in St. Lucia who are gifted. Based on my studies when I was doing my master's degree, Spider, I felt like I should come back home and go find the gifted ones that are in prison. Because in my studies, I realized that if you don't live in a supportive environment, as a gifted person, you tend to shut down, you ghost yourself, the frustration builds up, and then you lash out at society, or you lash out at the bullies in society, and then you end up being incarcerated.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Just going back to my notes there, I mean, you said you did your master's. And in what area did you do your master's?
Curriculum and instruction, instructional design. I did a few courses in special education, and gifted and talented instruction.
Okay. No wonder you targeting, you keep mentioning targeting gifted people.
St. Lucia is filled with gifted people. It's a special place.
I see.
Definitely.
Now, I want to ask you a question. Of course, you are a teacher. Are you still a teacher?
Yes, I love teaching.
And the reason why I ask you that is because we heard your opponent, Jeremiah Norbert, making an issue of the fact that you are still a teacher and that you have not resigned from the teaching profession. First of all, is that the case?
Yeah, I'm still a teacher.
Right.
I've not resigned.
Okay.
And even if I become a politician, I hope to use the platform to teach.
So you'll always be a teacher?
Yes, sir.
But do you have a problem with having been named as a candidate and still being a teacher? Because some people seem to have a problem with that.
Now, I'll ask you some questions too, Spider.
Yes.
Because we need to start speaking the truth to the people of the country, so nobody is misled,
Well,
misguided.
let me just say to you, apart from telling it like it is here, we deal strictly with the truth here.
Okay. So this is the candidate's handbook, the electoral department, right? You become a candidate during election period, right? So on page 4, it says that a writ for an election is the document issued by a governor general. So the governor general issues a writ, right, to returning officers. That is when the election period begins. That's a notice for that election period. What we call silly season.
Right.
Has silly season begun?
Well, in a sense it has, because the fact that we know that an election is imminent within months, people have begun the campaign effort and so on.
Elections
but the
year.
House has not been dissolved or anything like that to say, well, you know, nomination day.
Right. So the writs are issued for Governor General, which follow the dissolution of the House of Parliament to fill the vacancies and so on. Right.
Yeah.
So the writ must be set the date of the nomination is not less than 7 and not more than 14 days after the writ is issued. The Governor General has not made any announcement for an election.
Right.
After the Governor General makes a date for the announcement of the date of the election, then we have nominations. Okay?
Right.
Nominations. You only nominate. So on page 8 it says, it is not possible to be nominated as a candidate for election until the writ has been issued by the Governor General.
So technically, you are not a
Nobody
candidate.
has been nominated.
As a candidate, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
An
And
endorsement,
you're quite right about that.
an endorsement is basically the party saying, we like Elisha's ideas. We're giving him permission to speak on your behalf, to listen to your ideas, and these ideas will become resolutions that could end up being in the manifesto. Right? So, silly season, the electoral period, that's the correct name, has not started. I mean, the parties are getting their teams in place. They have begun identifying possible candidates. They are giving endorsements. That's a natural process.
And by the way, don't think for a moment, despite what your opponent might say, that you are the first or the only person to have been in that position.
Yeah,
I mean, he didn't resign the day he decided that he wants to pursue that route. So, I mean, and many others, even up to the last general election, you know, remained in the service while they were pursuing their political ambition.
Yeah, and this issue is deep. I hope I think some changes come out of it, some reform.
Yeah, but I think, Elisha, the basis for some people making an issue of this matter is, like you read from the candidate's handbook, from the electoral department, but I think they are going according to what is stipulated in the, how do you call it, the rules governing the public service.
Right.
All right.
And the staff orders.
Staff orders, right.
The staff orders must be guided by the Constitution.
Very well.
So in my research.
And let me just say before you go further, the highest law of the land is the Constitution. Any law that contradicts or contravenes any provision of the Constitution is in itself unconstitutional. And if you have to go according to what is right, the Constitution takes precedence. So you are very right in that regard.
There was a time when St. Lucia only had 2 secondary schools, right?
Right.
And so the number of competent, educated persons in the country was small. And the government of the day had to be formed by these people.
Right.
So to protect the public service from persons leaving to seek public office, and then you having to find replacements for these people, I will understand why an order like that was issued. Hey, if you're in the public service, you cannot leave to go run for elections, because we needed that. There were not enough persons with the GCEs and degrees to run the public service. But right now, with so many secondary schools, so many university graduates, there is really no need to prevent people from stepping forward and contributing to the leadership of our country, Spider.
But I am telling you, I'm a former public servant myself. I believe that once the public servant understands the separation between their politics and their responsibility as a public servant, there's no problem, to my mind, in someone, pursuing public office. Of course, at the point when nomination day comes and so on,
right, that's when you
resign.
Yeah.
If you're successful, obviously, you're not going to go back to the service. But I also believe that if you are unsuccessful, you can reapply for your job to go back into public service. And I think that would help St. Lucia a lot, given the fact that, too many talented people find themselves, because unfortunately, we have only 17 parliamentarians. So there are quite a number, 17 or more people who would be unsuccessful. And among them, there are many talented people who just fall by the wayside. And in our system, once you have dabbled in the politics, if your party is not in office, if you're not successful, you become a pariah. It becomes difficult for you to get employment and so on. And I don't think that should be perpetuated.
Yeah, not at all. And I'm very concerned about the manner in which the statements were made at that town hall meeting. It's almost as if he was suggesting that if you lose, you will not have a job, like key job. Almost degrading the job that I value so much, the teaching job. If you lose,
I would hate to believe that Jeremiah would suggest, because I was a former teacher myself, and one of the most noble professions is that of teaching.
Yeah.
And he should know that, because he has a level of education himself, that he should know that.
Yeah.
And besides, you do not demean or put down any profession, any occupation.
Yeah, it's a job I value. It's a job I really value. I love my job.
But then again, it's probably becoming seasoned in the ways of the SLP. That's what they do. Decry, insult, embarrass, chastise.
I was looking to the SLP.
Probably Richard Frederick is one of his mentors as well.
I was looking to the majority government
to
make fundamental changes, to push fundamental reform in our country. It's obvious that's not a priority.
Well, I just want to remind you that whatever you're saying here is on record.
Yeah.
And you will have an opportunity, if successful, to do what you're saying.
Don't
be surprised I call you back on like it is and I remind you of what you said.
Yeah, changes. So, and we know that changes that are necessary, But you said earlier something about political points.
Yeah.
Many of these changes are not being pushed by the sitting governments.
Right. Because they are not there for the transformation of our society and our country. They are all about politics. And if they can just go through a transaction that will get them votes, that is what they do.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So now I'm in charge for a little while. Did you vote against the Susie Dovey report, constitutional reform?
No, I didn't.
Or you were not there in that time?
No.
Okay.
And let me just say that I attend some meetings of the Constitutional Reform Committee, but by and large, I find a lot of time wasting goes on. But I will tell you quite candidly, I recognize the need for some changes, and I support the reform that ought to be made. Because there's a lot of far-reaching, laws that need to be put in place. There are some that need to be made redundant, and so on. And even some little minor things that doesn't affect anyone's life right now. But would you believe if I tell you that you cannot bury a dead after 6, you cannot bury someone above 6 feet, and so on, which we contravene at the moment, because people, if the funeral goes for a long time, especially when preachers see a lot of people, they preach and preach, and they get on with it, it's raining and so on. And you know that in the cemeteries right now, you have those concrete mausoleums, they call them, I don't know, but people are actually buried above ground now.
Yeah.
Which is still, and the law is still on our books. Yeah. So these are things, there are many things that we have to discard, get rid of.
Yeah,
and
just
so
understand why they were there
and make adjustments. And even, I don't think the Constitution says anything about preventing a public servant, so that may not need changing. But there are a lot of changes needed to be made. I think our Constitution needs to be revamped.
Yeah.
With the passage of time, naturally. And it has to take into account the technology that has developed over the last 25 years or so. Some remarkable changes have taken place, and so on.
We need to move forward as a country.
Yes. So you were, I understand, once the chairman of the Micoud North Constituency Council.
Yes, sir.
And I know normally the parliamentary representative has the privilege and prerogative of identifying that person to make that appointment. So are you saying that it was your current opponent, Jeremiah, Norbert, who selected you as the chairman.
Yes. After he won the election, he did call me.
Wow.
And his decision was based on my proven track record in community development, youth sports, my professional life. Yeah.
Well, Jeremiah, I'm not suggesting for a moment that you did anything wrong, but I hope what you did there is an admission, something that you cannot deny. If you chose him as your constituency council chairman, it means you recognize leadership qualities in him and so on. So do not contradict yourself now because he's your opponent and try to suggest otherwise.
I remember at the swearing-in ceremony, the Minister for Housing and Local Government, when after he read my CV, he said, wow, some of these people here are qualified to be Prime Minister. So I know that they value the person.
But can I give you a word of advice? Expect something entirely different from him now.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't ask you to join me. I don't ask you to even comment on what I'm about to say. But that's an unprincipled character.
Yeah. I had high hopes for the last 4 years. I wanted to see major changes. The experience being the chairman of the council, it taught me that councils are not valued enough. Councils are not being given enough resources. And I don't think that has changed. You get an impress of $50,000 to take care of all the public facilities in your constituency. And we only got that once. Monrepo Community Center, Micoud HRDC, Prada Community Center, Micoud also has a community center. We have fields.
Well, I can inform you that that amount only came into being in the during the time of the last administration when a significant allocation was made to the council. Before that, it was null and void. I am an advocate for the relative independence of council, for the strengthening of local government, and I am hoping that you will champion that cause in the next UWP government when you form the government.
We started speaking about local government reform and act and having elective local government.
Right.
And none of all of these things.
Well, I was
waiting for the
Let me just say so. I was towards the end of our administration. I was the local government minister, and these are some of the things we were pushing for. Unfortunately, a lot of things take a lot of time, like on the legislation that has been put in place and so on. But we were pursuing local government elections. In addition to that, well, I was also a parliamentary representative. I had made a number of recommendations for the local council to generate its own revenue, to be able to be in a position to deal with some of the projects and that they wouldn't have to go and bow to central government.
Talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my office as chairman of council and I notice trucks passing, loaded with sand, coming from a beach in a bushway. And I asked and I was informed that this contractor was given a permit. So basically they pay contractors to go and de-silt, right? This is like it is. I see that as contractors being paid to go and take sand. That belongs to the people of the constituency.
Right.
So I went to one of the contractors I knew was doing it before. I spoke to him. I went to another one. I saw doing it at the time. And I told them, hey, shouldn't everybody in the constituency be benefiting from the revenue that you make from the sale of sand? Yeah, well, I sponsored this and I sponsored that. It cannot be left up to them. You're already getting paid to take away the island's resources.
Right, and you can sell it and make even more money. Yeah.
Why don't we tax you, or we fine you, or we collect the revenue from there? I remember once taking my car and driving it across the road and blocking off a guy, good guy, name is Zilo. And Zilo stopped. And he shook his head and he said, boy, that must be a madman trying to block me for a car, because his truck is towering over me. I got out of my vehicle and he started laughing. He told me he could easily just pass over my car, but he knows the type of person I am. What is it, Elisha? And I started speaking to him about that. I told him, Zilo, the sun belongs to all of us. That's our land, the people that live, yeah? That's our land, our natural resource. Why don't y'all contribute to the constituency council for every load of sand that you'll take? Why don't we fine y'all? As chairman of council, I'm imposing a fine of $20. And we negotiated on the price. And the guys agreed.
Right.
And we were able to raise revenue. We were able to sponsor a bus, Mr. Gilroy Joseph, to take our athletes from Micoud Village to the stadium twice a week for training. While I'm on the topic, the viewers listening, I would like us to assist the Night Riders Athletics Club. If we could raise $20,000 for the year for the Night Riders Athletics Club, that will take care of all their transportation needs for the entire year. You will be assisting at least 60 athletes. You'll be investing in their talents. And Night Riders has produced some of the best track athletes in St. Lucia's history. So contact Mr. Titus Alier, Coach Daffrose, and pledge your support to the Night Riders Athletics Club. I know last weekend they were supposed to go to a meet. The bus fare was, you had to hire a bus. I cannot do it every time these days. I would do it for them for free. But trying to put myself in a position to help more, I was not able to do that. And the bus charge, I think it was $20 or $15 a head. But although 23 parents had previously registered, only 11 of them went. 11, I assume the cost was a factor.
So I see your community activism coming out there. And like it is, people, we're giving them free ads on the show. We don't have a problem with that once it's for the advancement and development of our people in our country. But while we're on ads, if you can just bear with me for a moment, I have a number of ads here from various constituencies asking me to announce for them those things. Now, you see, the thing is I cannot not do it because they are listening to like it is. Like it is what's happening on a Monday night. So let me just go through some of the activities taking place in the coming days in the various constituencies. In the case of Castries East, there's a masquerade gala dinner on Sunday, June 8th, 2025 from 7 p.m. That is taking place at the Leon Hess Comprehensive School, and the fee is $100. The dress code is elegant. You can contact Mr. Jordan or Mr. Peter Chico, and cocktail will begin from 6 p.m. So please support Castries East on Sunday, June 8th with the masquerade gala dinner. Let me skip this one, we'll come back to it. We just had an ad from Micoud North. We can have two in a row. Micoud South, Father's Day Family Day on Sunday, June the 15th from 11 a.m. That is taking place on the Deriso field, the Deriso playing field. There will be games and activities for all ages. That is on Father's Day in Micoud South on the Deriso playing field. There will be a family day from 11 a.m. Games, activities, and fun for all ages. The Rush Clock, that is the UWP candidate for Castries Central, will be having the Golden City Cruise Party. And that will be taking place on Monday the 9th. Ladies and gentlemen, Monday the 9th is a holiday, so you have no reason not to join Rush on that boat ride. Monday the 9th of June, you will catch the boat at Gantas Bay in VG from 10 a.m. onwards. The dress code is white and yellow. For a change, when it comes to politics, the code is yellow, but for that boat ride, the code is white and yellow. Music by DJ Potmore and Pablo. Prizes to be won, that is cash and weekend for two at a Rodney Bay Airbnb. Prizes for best karaoke performance and best cruisewear. So please support Rush Clark, the candidate for Castries Central, on his Golden City Cruise Party on Monday the 9th of June. There's also an activity coming up by United Youth, that's the United Workers' Party Youth Arm, on June the 19th, 2025. It is called the Inferno Boat Ride, and the boat leaves Auberge Seraphine from 10 a.m. Tickets are $60, and it will be featuring DJ International Pro Style, DJ Vira, DJ Ben, Candy Kid, and MTJ. I think something to do with that. Multi-talented jugglers, I think that is. I don't think I'm not up to date with what's going on, Elisha.
Micoud North.
And we come into Micoud North now. Micoud North, on Saturday, June the 14th, from 7 p.m., there will be a Father's Day dinner at the Micoud Multipurpose Center, and that will cost you $50. So please go out and support the Micoud North constituency branch with their Father's Day dinner on June 14th, 7 p.m. Those of you who still have fathers, you can give your father a treat by buying him a ticket. It's only $50. So please go out and support all those causes. Ladies and gentlemen, they are worthwhile, worthy causes. You will be having a good time and at the same time making a contribution to a worthy cause. So let's get back to our discussion, Elijah.
About council.
Yeah, we were talking about the council, and you have already mentioned some initiatives and so on. But if I can put one on the table there, I hear a lot of talk about, whenever the discussion is about Micoud North, one of the subjects that comes out is a jetty in Micoud North. I heard Jeremiah lamenting in the House during the budget presentation. What was your role? Because you were the former chairman of the council. Yeah. What was your role in ensuring the jetty was delivered, and do you think that more or better can be or should be done?
Or faster. I remember him complaining that he couldn't see the allocations for the jetty. Mm-hmm. I remember the frustrations. It felt like the party was not taking Micoud North seriously. I see. And as the political leader warned you, Micoud North is very close to my heart. I'm almost selfish when it comes to the development for Micoud North. And when I made the decision to explore application for the United Workers' Party, I was called and asked whether the rumors were true. And I told the individual that they should not worry about me going up for UWP. And I told them, worry that Jeremiah will be the one going up for UWP if they don't deliver the jetty in Micoud. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was the end of the conversation. Mm-hmm. After the jetty was built, now you'll get your jetty, of course, you're going to behave yourselves. I said, you're just not giving things to Micoud North. And I know that now that I got the endorsement, Micoud North is receiving a lot more attention because Elisha Norbert got the endorsement from the United Workers' Party. Okay. Because they're trying to protect the victory. Mm-hmm. But the neglect we saw in the first 2 years, I will not forget that.
And you're not allowing people to forget that?
Not at all, not at all.
But there's a lot. Elijah, time runs by quickly, especially when you're having fun or you're involved in good stuff. I do not want to deprive my viewers and listeners of an opportunity to engage you. At the end of the day, they'll say, I shielded you and asked you only, softball questions.
Yeah, I don't need shielding.
So, I may not go into some of the areas they wish to, so I will give them the opportunity to, call in to ask questions of their own. That doesn't mean I'm done with you, Jeremiah's cousin. Jeremiah's cousin. Elijah, I will be asking you questions as well in between. But to be fair to my audience, to be fair to my listeners and viewers, I did indicate to them that we'll be opening the line, so I would like to open up the line in a moment to them. But first, let me just call out the numbers that they can call to make a contribution, to ask a question, or to make a suggestion. All I ask, as always, as usual, be polite to my guests. Courtesy is something that is demanded here, and respect both ways. If you respect yourself, you gain respect. If you don't respect yourself, don't bother call. Telephone number, the landline is 4500777. Again, the landline is 4500777. And the WhatsApp number is 284-3499. 284-3499. You can, I'm calling right now. We are opening the lines. So those of you who may have questions for Elisha, tonight don't ask me questions. I have a guest for you to bombard with the questions. And whether it's a question, a suggestion, a comment, feel free. You will be given the opportunity for you to tell it like it is. We have a problem with my headphone. I'm not hearing, so I wouldn't even know when we have a call. So I'm just saying so that our technicians can take note. But in the meantime, Elisha, we want to know, do you have any pet projects that you're thinking of that when you become parliamentary representative, that you want to ensure that, what you think are the greatest needs of Micoud North? But before you answer my question, I want to give priority to my callers. I have a caller on the line already. Good evening, caller. welcome to Like It Is. Please go ahead and make your contribution. Tell it
Good
like it is.
evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Spider.
Good evening.
Good evening, your best.
Good evening, sir.
Spider,
Yes.
I heard you say that the problem with the development of that hotel, that they were charging, were paying the routers $180, and then they reduced it to $100.
Just a moment. I was quoting a worker, and if you listen to the news, you would have heard the worker actually say so. More than one of them.
Yes.
All right.
You said you indicated that they were wrong. The company was wrong to reduce it.
I said the company was what?
Was wrong in reducing the rate.
Okay. Let me just repeat for your benefit what I said. It was said that that was done without consultation, and I said if that is the case, I actually said so. If that is the case, the company would be wrong to do so. Don't you agree with me?
If it was
now, I ask you a question. Don't you agree with me?
Not totally.
Not totally.
Because my understanding of you is that they were brought, these people that were reduced were brought to management, indicating that when applications that they filled an application being mason, carpenters, and the company paid according to the standard that they had for carpenters and masons. With time, the company found that these people were not carpenters, as said, were not masons, and that is dishonest on their part.
Okay, so who did you get that information from?
That's from the news. That's from the news.
Okay, I said, okay, hold on a moment. You don't have to shout to make your point. And the earphone is actually in my ear, so I can hear you quite clearly. I indicated that I saw the news and workers said what I said. So who said what you're saying then?
That is unprofessional of you. A man that
who said what you said then?
Because
in the news.
Find out the fact.
No. I want to ask you a question again. You're pretending like you're not hearing me. Who made those comments in the news? You said you heard it in the news.
The minister.
Oh, the minister. All right, the minister.
Also, the other news reporters that came on television said that the applications were written as if they were masons and carpenters. Now, you know for a fact that this is wrong. As a leader, you should not tolerate dishonesty like that. Because you know.
Wait, did you just call me dishonest? No, hold on a second. Stop right there. Stop right there. And you better stop because I know how to stop you. Did you just call me dishonest? Did you just call me dishonest? Did you just call me dishonest? I'm asking again. Did you just call me dishonest?
I said, if you told...
No, it's a yes or no question. Did you just call me dishonest? Did you just call me dishonest? That's the last time I'm asking you the question. Okay, I wish to engage you. You do not wish to engage, so go elsewhere with your argumentative self that do not want to hear another view. You only want to dominate. You do not want to engage. When you call her, be prepared to have a discourse. And since you do not want to have a discourse, here's not the place for you, sir. Anyway,
I think
yes, you wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, I think our education system must address the labor needs of our country. Coming out from that news piece, I'm glad to see the Human Capital Resilience Project that was proposed by Dr. Gail Rigobert, signed by Alan Chasney. We need to train every single solution to ensure that they're able to find their place in our country's economy.
Yeah.
We need trained masons, we need trained carpenters, use the technology.
Yeah, but before I take the other caller, you see, the thing is about it, in the news you heard various views. You heard the views of the minister reporting what he was told by the investor. You heard the views of the workers.
Yeah.
But some people choose to give precedence, to what was said by the minister and the investor, and disregard the several workers who were making their point. So, it's a question of where you stand and who you're really willing to defend. We have a caller on line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Like It Is. Please go ahead and make your contribution. Tell it like it is. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Montoute.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a comment on the K9 unit.
On the?
K9 unit.
Okay, all right, go ahead, please.
I don't know if you heard Miss Charles or Mrs. Charles last Tuesday on Meet the Opposition.
Well, I depend on what comment you refer to. I listened to part of it.
She said that the K9 unit was disbanded by the present administration, and she gave the reason for it. Now I am confused because you are giving one reason and she gave another reason.
What reason did she give?
She said that the K9 unit was owned by a local, and because they thought that local was affiliated to the United Workers Party, they disbanded the K9 unit.
Okay, can I comment on that?
Yes, you can.
The Prime Minister, I played a clip with the Prime Minister giving some reasons why the K9 unit was disbanded. I also heard Dr. Ernest Hille give other reasons why the K9 unit was disbanded. I think in his case, he indicated that it was very expensive. It cost as much as $40,000 a month to run the K9 unit. Okay, and that was exorbitant. In the case of the Prime Minister, he said that he needed trainers, he needed this, he needed that, which is obvious to any and everyone. And when it was in operation, it needed and had that. So they gave conflicting reasons, diverse reasons why it happened. So if Nancy gave her opinion, her views as to it, well, that's her. So I did not say anything to contradict anyone. I was just quoting what I said. And I also gave my views as to why I think it was disbanded too.
Yeah, but I want to
which is different to what, because you see, when your government do not provide you with answers, they themselves ask you to speculate, and that is what is done in the absence of information. Speculation is right.
But hear me, we are drowning in an ocean of information.
From whom?
We are drowning.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Is at the click of
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Has our current government added a drop of water to that ocean of information?
But you just gave two reasons that they gave.
So you're saying it is information when you get conflicting information from the authorities who ought to know. You don't take that on, but you want to take me on when I speculate.
No. Listen to me. I'm not seeking a quarrel with you.
No.
I'm not.
So who said we're quarreling? I'm responding to you. I'm not quarreling with you.
Yeah. I said I'm not seeking an argument with you. I'm just telling you what I heard from Mrs. Charles last week. She said that the K9 unit was disbanded because it was privately owned by a St. Lucian, and they thought that St. Lucian was affiliated to the United Workers Party. So therefore,
I'm saying to you that if the government is giving you conflicting answers about the same issue, and they are in a position to know, it tells you they're lying. You are in a position to speculate, and that's what she did. And I am also in a position to speculate, and that's what I did.
So what I'm saying.
Do you have another reason?
Mm-hmm. No. I'm only asking a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it ethically sound, or is it protocol for a K9 unit to be owned by a local, or should it be state property owned, manned by the police? And my other question is, if the K9 unit was owned by a private St. Lucian, I think we should be in a position, she should be in a position to tell us who that private St. Lucian is. And that's the two questions I'm asking. Who that private St. Lucian is.
Okay.
And
the better thing, I want to direct you to do something that's better than this. There is a program called Meet the Minister. The ministers are the ones actually running the country. They are the ones in a position to give you direct, accurate answers on matters of that nature. They are the ones you should be asking that question.
But hear what I'm saying, Mr. Spider.
I heard what you said. And
but let's be real. I
heard what you're saying, and that's why I responded to you.
My final comment to you is, let's be real. Everybody owns the country, owes to the country, to be honest to themselves and to the to their listeners.
So I hope you practice that. The thing is, if you listen to me very well, I ask questions. I ask whether the real reason, because that's what I think it is. So I'm asking whether
But
give me a chance. Give me a chance. Give me a chance. Give me a chance.
I want to listen to you on air.
Give me a chance. I was saying that I hearing different reasons coming from the authorities who ought to know, I realized that they were lying to me. So I said I believe the real reason to be what I think it is, and I asked the question whether that is the reason. That's what I did. And you are free to ask the question as well, but you direct the question appropriately to the people who ought to answer the questions, and that is the government. So thank you anyway for calling. Yes, you want to make a comment, Elijah?
Yeah, just on the issue, should every single contract, should we have the details of every single contract that government issues? Should the government own weed eaters, lawnmowers, in addition to the dogs? Should government own everything that it needs?
Certainly not.
And yeah, just like the K9 unit.
Yeah.
Is it okay to subcontract?
Exactly.
To grant contracts to
if the government doesn't have the capacity or the wherewithal, they have to reach out of government. We have a caller on line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Like It Is. Please go ahead and make a contribution. Tell it like it is.
Yeah. Spider?
Yes, sir.
Spider?
Yes, I can hear you. Could you go ahead and make a contribution, please?
Yes. Spider, another question I have for you is that
accountability is key.
We lost that caller. I was hearing the person wanting to ask me a question, but anyway. So you were making a point, Elijah?
Yeah, I'm all for accountability. St. Lucia needs to have a more transparent government. And I agree with the caller that there needs to be more transparency and accountability. But that has to be across the board. We cannot just say, okay, only the K9 unit, we want to know who got the contract. But we want to know who got contracts to take care of the fields in our community.
Exactly. Up to now, our Minister of Sports cannot tell us how our $80 million was spent.
Right, we need
up to now.
So, these are along the same lines.
So am I not free to speculate in the absence of information?
Right, and as you said, you have to ask the right persons, and they must be willing to answer.
They must be
to provide the answers.
Not just willing, they owe it to us to answer that question. It's our money they're spending.
One of the aims of teaching mathematics, Spider, is to develop critical thinking in our people.
Right.
However, we have lost sight of the aims. We are focused on just passing exams, getting high grades.
Right.
And so students are taught to pass exams without achieving the aims of the syllabus. And we suffer the consequences as a nation because we're left with quite a few people who don't think critically. So in the ocean of information, it becomes difficult for some of us to navigate, and use the critical thinking skills to make sense.
Do you have any caller online? Yeah, we have a caller, Elisha, so we're going to welcome that caller to Like It Is and allow you to go ahead and make your contribution. Go ahead and make your contribution, please. Tell it like it is. Hello? Okay. It looks like we've lost that caller. But you see, what happens... Yeah,
I also wanted to say, hopefully one day, all skilled workers will be found in Micoud North. We'll open up a trade center to train. Yes.
Yes, hello. I think we have our caller now. Yes, good evening, caller. Welcome to Like It Is.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead and make a contribution. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is the normal rate for carpenter installation?
I do not know what is the normal rate, okay? I have paid carpenters, when they work for me, I have paid carpenters as much as $200 a day.
Wow, $200?
Yeah.
Mr. Spider, a normal rate for carpenter would be about, big companies, at least 160, 170.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. What was the purpose for asking me that question when you know the answer?
No, because I wanted to find out exactly where we're going with that.
So you know all you have proven. Let me tell you what you have proven. That they are varying rates. Because the last job a carpenter did for me, he charged me $200 for the day.
$200?
Yes.
That carpenter took too much from you, Mr. Spider.
No, doesn't it have anything to do with skill level and proficiency?
No, basically what I know, I know carpenters, a lot of skillful carpenters. Because my own manager is a contractor, skilled contractor, big contractor in St. Lucia. And I work along with a lot of carpenters.
What part of St. Lucia are you from?
Me, I'm from St. Lucia.
What part of St. Lucia are you from? That's what I asked.
I'm from Hospital Road. I'm from Lapente. I'm from Beaufort South. I am actually.
Well, I'm from Grosile. I'm from Grosile, and what I have discovered is that when I speak to my friends and colleagues from the south of the island, I find that rates tend to be higher in the north than it is in the south. So it may very well be that we just have the skilled carpenters in the north charging more than a skilled carpenter in the south.
Because of the capacity on the Rodney Bay area.
Well, because probably there's more affluence in the north.
Yeah, but one of the things that they call the people say when you look at the skilled carpenters, I don't mind paying them $300 if I have to pay it. But when you have people that come on your project and they're not ready to work, because a lot of people are not ready to work. Because this foreign, when you go to the US or you go to England, because I work in England, I work in the US, and I work these places. And to tell you the truth, you have to provide for the money that they're paying you. Now you cannot come and tell me, I asked you to build a square, and when I come there is a triangle you give me. You know, or the square is not actually a proper square. You know, these people, when they give you the measurement, they expect you to, I am ready to cast. And can you imagine, Mr. Spider, that you're ready to cast, you have women coming to meet you, Mr. Spider, and then the dimension you give the individual is not ready, and you have that machine pinned in with concrete ready to pour. That is a whole structure to go to waste.
Okay,
you know,
Carlo, can I ask you, we were talking about the workers at Isla Resorts. So are you saying that that is the case with them there?
Well, one of the things that because I spoke to a few persons on the ground, and they said, yes, they had a very serious problem there where the fellas, Ernest was right. You know, because those are the questions that was brought to Ernest, you know, and not only Ernest, but it was put out to the Prime Minister as well. So these are things that people will not...
Did Ernest speak to the workers?
But you see, the thing about it, Ernest was not the one that employed the workers. You understand? He's not the workers.
He's not the one that employed the workers.
No.
So if he's getting involved, he only has to hear one side of the story.
No, they asked him a question. When the question was asked about the workers and so on, they deduct payment from the workers. Then he had to find out, he had to call, and he made calls. Ernest made calls. I can tell you he made calls.
I'm asking, okay, he made calls, obviously, but did he hear the side of the workers?
He heard from some of the workers.
Because what the workers were saying was totally different to what he was saying.
No, some of them, not all.
Pardon? And the worker actually showed his face. I mean, he came out and showed his face. A couple of them actually showed their faces, and so I give credibility to what they're saying. I mean, if they're lying, then I was fooled. But I believe that there are two sides to a story, and you cannot only ascertain what the situation is by hearing one side. And as a leader, as a people's representative, at least the first thing you should do is to hear the people's position.
Our schools are crystal ball into the future, and you hear teachers complaining that students are not ready to work, and you hear managers saying that their workers are not ready to work. Mm-hmm. Something is not being addressed in the education system that gets our students ready to work and love working. You give a child an assignment, you come back the next day to correct it. When you get there, they tell you they have not done anything. Mm-hmm. Just like he was explaining about the casting a while ago. Yeah, we need to train our people better.
Right.
Invest
Do we have
in
a caller? Okay. You see, I agree with you, but you see, at the end of the day, let's get down to the root cause of the problem, and that entails engaging everyone, hearing both sides of the story, because it appeared to me that Ernest was quoting the employers, but the employees were singing a different song. As to what exactly is the situation, to ascertain what that is, you would have to have both sides of the story, and then to determine what actually the situation is.
Yeah, that's like a child going home saying the teacher gave me 0, and the parent immediately says, oh, that teacher is not good, and how can the teacher give you 0? Without hearing the teacher's side.
Especially if you're supposed to represent anyone as the people.
Correct. You have to listen to
You have to hear their side.
I carried out a survey in my constituency, Spider, and our people don't like to talk. They are not confident. They're not assertive. And that's something we have to work on.
We have to address that.
Yeah. And by getting our people in Micoud North involved in more community organizations, give our young people more opportunities in pageantry and so on, they are going to develop these skills and attributes.
And I just want to say on the situation that we're discussing here right now, a couple of damning statements were made by the workers, bold-faced. When I say bold-faced, they spoke, their faces were not hidden, they didn't speak anonymously. They actually said that the employers told them that they had bought our ministers.
Okay, as for that.
And now I am saying that didn't sit well with me, and I would hate to believe that that is so. But it is incumbent on the minister in question to come out and to debunk that and give us the comfort and satisfaction that that is not the case.
When the election period is lengthened by too much time, you get the need for too much money. And governments have to become creative in getting their campaign finance inspired. And that takes us back to the very first place where we started this conversation. The election period, if it's supposed to be 28 days, it's time we stop the nonsense. Campaign financing is costing this country too much money. There's enough money to take care of healthcare. There's enough money to ensure that the doctors get what they need so that they could love their jobs. There's enough money to have the educational reform, equip the schools. But no, too much money goes into 3-year campaign periods.
Okay. So do we have a caller online? No. Okay. Well, I'm giving the indication, Elisha, that we have run out of time. So, you know what? To end, I want to give you the courtesy of making your closing remarks before I thank you for your presence here tonight.
In Micoud North, we do not think that the 5 objectives listed in the 2021 manifesto of the government have a passing grade. Number 1, they said they would assist the residents in occupying Crown lands. They would construct a multipurpose center with ICT access in Lapointe and Marguerite. That has not been done. They would construct a health center in Patience. That has not been done. They did half of number 4. They replaced the jetty, the damaged jetty, and they continued the lighting projects. So there is light now on Wen and Patience. They said that they would also put on the small field in Moripo. If you look at these 5 objectives that were supposed to be completed, half of 2 of them were done. So I'm a teacher, 0, 0. Half plus half is 1. Yeah? So we would give them 1 out of 5. That is 20% for the work they've done.
Which is not a passing grade.
And so it's time for us to...
Elijah, I get the feeling that we have a little way to go before the next general election. Yeah. And I want to put you on notice that you will have to come back to Like It Is. I think we had a good time, having the discussion with you. It's a pity that we didn't have more time for our callers. I want to say a very big thank you to you for making yourself available and coming and to reveal yourself, so to speak, on Like It Is. I thank you for that. I want to thank all our listeners. I want to thank our callers. I want to thank those of you who are joining us every Monday from the diaspora and around the region. And I want to ask you to join me again next Monday, where we're going to have another episode of Like It Is. In the meantime, I want to ask that you join us tomorrow morning for press briefing, and on Thursday, on Thursday, you'll be joining me for Meet the Opposition, since Nancy is not available for Thursday. On Sunday, we are going to have the usual Flambeau Live, and this time it will be in the constituency of Denry South. So please stay tuned and continue to follow us in the United Workers' Party, where we bring the truth to light and we show you the way, the path back to prosperity and progress. Please continue to support and follow the United Workers' Party. Well, Monday is a holiday. Well, Monday is a holiday, I was told?
Yes, sir.
Monday is a holiday, so we will not be having a Like It Is program. I didn't realize Monday was a holiday. But the following Monday, we will be back with you. So we want to thank all of you who joined us tonight, and we want to wish you a very pleasant good evening. Please have a pleasant night's rest, and God bless. Thank you very much, and good night.
Good night.
opinions expressed on this TV program by the hosts, guests, and callers are solely their opinions and responsibility. They do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Hot 7 TV or its affiliates.
Thank God that I am a solution, and like a